Hi, welcome to SwamiLee's Sports Talk. We're back again, and now we have an interesting topic that you guys probably haven't heard on too many shows recently.
Let me add that I haven't heard it either.
No, you have not. Mike, who was the greatest player? Well, greatest player, yeah, also, but the greatest third baseman in baseball history?
Michael Jack Schmidt.
Correct. Well, this show is not about him. Mike, who played third base for the Phillies full time before Mike Schmidt?
I'm trying to remember if it was Don Money or if somebody was after Money and before Schmidt.
Nope, it was Don Money. Was and again, full-time starter. I'm not saying somebody played 10 games. I'm talking about the full-time. Don Money played 152 games for the 72 Phillies, mostly at third base. So Don Money, the Phillies had a third baseman. Again, Don Money, he was a good player. He was not a great player by any means. His batting averages were kind of weak, actually. But the Phillies were a bad team, so it didn't really matter. They had this kid coming up, this Schmidt kid who batted, he was a big prospect. And so they traded Don Money. And what we're talking about today, Mike, is not necessarily Don Money, but the Phillies, where they were, and the trade of Don Money to the Milwaukee Brewers. Are you ready?
I think I am.
Okay, well, Don Money was in end of October of 72. He was traded to the Milwaukee Brewers for young Billy Champion, pitcher. Philly favorite John Vukovich, a no-hit, good glove fielder. And the Phillies got back Kenny Brett, Jim Lonborg, Ken Sanders, and Earl Stevenson. Nobody cares about them. So the bottom line is they moved a weak-hitting third baseman who they had a stud coming up, a young pitcher who really didn't have a lot of future potential, and a no-hit fielder, and they got Kenny Brett and Jim Lonborg back. Lonborg would spend 7 years, I think it was, in the Phillies rotation. And, of course, Brett would only be there for a year. I think Brett was traded for Dave Cash, if I remember correctly. So it's October 1972, and you're following the Phillies, and you found out they just traded their third baseman and a young pitcher for those players. What's going through your mind, Mike?
Well, I'm thinking Jim Lonborg is not too far removed from a great season. Although, if memory serves right, he didn't have a good 72. I'm thinking.
Well, to be clear, before you continue, obviously Lonborg had that amazing 67 season, okay? And 71 and 70, he actually had a great 72. He was 14-12 with a 2.83 for a bad Milwaukee Brewers team. But he's also going to be 31 years old when the season starts. So you got a veteran, and remember, salaries didn't matter back then. We're not in the days where the salaries matter to your transactions. So they got a 14-game winner in this trade, okay, and they also got in Kenny Brett. Now, of course, best known for being George's brother, but Kenny Brett, he came off the tough year. He was 7-12 with a 4.53 ERA, so he didn't have a really good year.
Well, then I must have had them confused. But either way, I would think it's an upgrade of their rotation, and if so, between that and the fact that they supposedly have this great prospect coming up to replace Money at third, I'd love the trade.
Now, 24-year-old Billy Champion went 4-14 with a 5.09 for the Phillies. So they gave up a 2.23 hitting third baseman, a starting pitcher with a 5.09 ERA, and a no-hit infielder to get Lonborg and Ken Brett. So now that I've given you that information, does it not make the trade look even better?
It does.
Now and then they traded, I believe they flipped Brett for Dave Cash. I'm pretty sure that was the trade. It's been a while since I've even thought about the late Kenny Brett. But so I'm gonna cheat, and I'm gonna I'll readily admit when I don't remember something. Sure enough, it was Dave Cash. So
was Bill Robinson in that trade?
No, that was a straight up deal. Robinson was traded to the Pirates in a separate deal. But so they not only did they get 2 pitchers, but they also flipped one of them into a guy who was key to their postseason run of 76 and, well, actually only 76. I guess the build-up, because he left for free agency to the Expos.
I remember.
But I remember my mother saying how horrible that was back in the day. It's pretty humorous actually thinking back to that. And don't forget, Ken Brett won 13 games for the 74 Phillies. So they got 73 Phillies. So they got 13 wins and then flipped them for Dave Cash. So deals look even better. So you sit back and you say to yourself, what exactly were they thinking about in Milwaukee? What was in it for the Brewers? Mike, what was in it for the Brewers? Yeah, keep thinking hard on this one.
I can't imagine. I mean, can't imagine that it had anything to do with Robin Yount coming up a year later or 2 years later.
No, it wouldn't involve Yount because at the time of the trade, I don't even know if they had drafted Yount yet. I don't know. He was drafted either in June of 73 or June of 74. It was June of 73. Yeah, okay, so they did have Yount, but it had nothing to do with Yount. Don Money was only 25 for the Phillies. And they must have thought of something of him because he came in and he hit 283 in his first year for the Brewers. And, of course, Money kicked around the Brewers system for 11 seasons. So they had to have known something. And he had some good years, and he was a crucial part of the 82 team. The build up to the 82 team. But coming back and thinking about it, Jim Lonborg, imagine Jim Lonborg and Ken Brett for Don Money. Do you make that trade?
I wouldn't give up those 2 pitchers for Don Money.
Yeah, nor would I. So I'm sitting there looking at this and thinking about this, and I love Don Money. I actually met Don Money at a collectible show back in '86. His daughter was really cute, by the way. Side note, and great guy. Really enjoyed talking to him. But I don't understand this trade to the end of the world unless they thought Billy Champion was going to be something, and not coming off that 4-14 season. I don't think the Brewers could project him to be much of anything. And it sure wasn't Vuk, because he couldn't hit. Great guy, couldn't hit. And I don't know. I mean, the Phillies got Lonborg, who was a staple in the rotation for, 6 years? From 73 to 78, he was a staple in the rotation. So this turned out to be a pretty bad trade for the Brewers, if you really think about it.
Well, then the question is, did they get fleeced, or did they think they knew something that none of us knew?
That's an excellent question. Maybe we should go visit your Twitter friends and see if any of them know about it, because I for the life of me, I saw this the other day, and I could not figure out for the life of me what made this trade happen. I mean, the Brewers looking for a third baseman, trade away 2 starting pitchers? That doesn't make any sense at all. And I didn't even cover, while we start talking about how the champion might be a stud and all that stuff, we have to sit back and say, well, what about Kenny Sanders and Earl Stevenson? I mean, Kenny Sanders was kicking around for a long time. I mean, this guy played for 2, 4, 6, 8 teams over 11 years. I mean, but he was decent. He had some ERAs below 2 for the Brewers. Below 2, not below 3, below 2. Both in 70
as a reliever.
What's that?
As a reliever.
Relief pitcher. But I don't know. It's just one of those things that makes you sit back and wonder, what the hell? Why would this trade happen? If you were the Milwaukee Brewers, why do you make this trade?
I've got a question for you that may shed some light on it. Who was running that team?
Well, that was the Brewers.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know who the GM was, but Bud owned the team. And well, I see where you're going with this, and that may have something to do with it. But they made some good trades in their time also. But this happened to be a pretty lousy one. And again, the only time you'll ever watch a show where they talk about the Don Money trade. That'll probably never happen again in your lifetime or mine.
Probably not.
Well, Mike, I'm glad you joined us today to talk about Don Money and the Phillies trade. SwamiLee's Sports Talk with a special of What Are They Talking About edition. We will see you next time. I'm SwamiLee.
I am Mellow Mike.
Thanks for watching.
Bye bye.